Hey everyone, welcome back to Reissued. My name is Andrew. Today we are continuing on with part 3 of the Studio Makeover. If you want to check out parts 1 and 2 of this makeover so far, I'll link those down below. Here we are for part 3, the desk makeover. In this video, I'm going to start by updating you on what we've been doing in the space since part 2. I'm also going to be sharing some changes that we've made to the plan. In part 1, I outlined all of my grand plans for the space, and of course things change as we go along. Sometimes the function of the space changes, sometimes things work differently in your mind than they do actually in reality. Sometimes you thrift some amazing things that totally veer you off course. And so the desk is definitely one of those big changes. I thrifted a couple of pieces that have sent me in a new direction. So we're going to be combining a couple of things to create a really interesting wood desk situation with metal sliding doors that will conceal a couple of things that I don't want to see in my space. Before we get started today, if you love thrifting, if you love a thrift flip, if you love a home makeover, be sure that you're subscribed. I'm really excited about this project and finally having a dedicated space to edit. Can't wait to get started. Let's jump on in. If you watched part 1 of the Studio Makeover series, you may remember that I was planning to use this area to create a desk and pull-out bed combo, using a thrifted sleeper sofa, kitchen cabinet, and bookcase. And yeah, we're not doing that. After reading some of your comments on the planning video and reevaluating my priorities for the space, I realized I wasn't being very realistic about the function or the space planning in the room. And some killer thrifted finds pushed me in a new direction. You know I love the mid-century sofa that is crazy heavy and would have had to move every time the bed would be pulled out. Plus, I found this awesome vintage office chair at the REISSUED for $20. It swivels and rocks and is actually very comfortable, so that will be way better for long editing sessions than the metal stool from the former plan. We've also been making some progress around the room since the last Studio Makeover installment. First of all, since we're no longer trying to make this a guest space, let's lose this door to the entry entirely and free up this wall for the china cabinet, which fits perfectly on this wall. The crown molding was caulked, and the walls were painted to match the ceiling and trim. Alright, so now that the walls are painted, we are going to put up the picture rail. This is probably going to be the most expensive part in the room. This was solid wood and there were 8-foot pieces to go all the way around the room, so definitely some cost that added up there. But since the picture rail is in every other room in the house that has tall ceilings, I think it's gonna look really nice in here and make things look finished. And so once the picture rail goes up, we're gonna go ahead and move some furniture into the space. Even though we haven't painted the floor or the trim yet, I just would like to get some furniture in the space to be able to start solidifying some of the plans about where things are gonna go and what I need to be sourcing to make this room complete. Let's get the sofa and table back in place. Since we're losing the pull-out bed and I'm thinking that the glass is not tempered, better to leave the table as is rather than cutting it down and put it more in the center of the room. Let's get a little trim paint going while we're at it. This cowhide I got on Craigslist in the NYC days, and this $20 Goodwill rug can give us a feel for the styling of the space. As for the original plan, fear not, the sleeper sofa turned pull-out bed dream is not dead. It'll just be moving next door to the living room as part of the wall of built-ins that will go in there eventually. The more open layout and dark, rich vibe of this room will be more suited to a guest space anyway. All the pieces of the puzzle came together when I found this desk at Goodwill for $22.50. It was $45, but half off for the Color of the Week sale. The chunky wood and rougher feel felt very reminiscent of the bookcase I already had planned to use. And although I don't love the computer desk feel, I can't deny that the function will be great. The plan today is to make some modifications to the desk to make it feel more on brand aesthetically and lose a bit of that computer desk look. Then we'll pop the bookcase on top and create some sliding doors that will conceal some more unsightly things that I need, namely my large external monitor that I would like to be using more for editing. After removing these facing strips that we'll need to replace since there are only 3 and we need 4, the first big task on both pieces, stripping. I hate it so much. The bookcase has a shiny kind of clear coat, and the desk has a similar tinted varnish, along with tons of marks and drawings. We break out the sandpaper first, which was a disappointing start. Then I tried the heat gun, because why not? I found that worked extremely well to flake off the varnish over parts of the desk, the sides mostly. It worked a bit on the top as well, but it was still a slow go. The toughest thing about sanding or stripping is that the more you do, the more you need to do. Meaning that as soon as we started revealing pure natural wood in some areas, that meant that we had to do it everywhere. Success on the stubborn desktop was finally achieved when my dad hit it with the planer, which shaves off little layers entirely. Like sanding times 10. That's looking better. After a little more planing and sanding, the desk is ready to go. The bookcase made great strides with the orbital sander, but it still needed quite a bit of hand sanding to get into all of the corners. The inconsistent color didn't really end up being an issue at all when staining, but any little shiny areas will still show up. During the stripping process, my parents worked on some new drawer elements for the desk. This tall, slim area screams, "I'm for a desktop computer," so we can't have that. I popped in some of these file holder paper sorter things that I got at West Elm ages ago, and wow, they fit perfectly on the bottom. With that in mind, my mom had the genius idea to use this drawer that we had on hand for the top. This was the same drawer that we removed for the kitchen cabinet hidden storage in the bathroom. Throwback! And yeah, we still had that. This is why large sections of my house still look like a storage unit. Anyway, we can install the drawer slides and cut a door out of some thrifted one-bys. Perfect. Last structural change on the desk is going to be a drawer added under the other drawers. There clearly used to be some sort of drawer here given the slides, so let's make this a printer drawer. New slides go in on the sides. My dad makes a base by doweling together 2 pieces of old pantry wood. And we cut to size and attach a door made of this weird butcher block type wood that we found under my house. Literally have no idea where it came from. We used some L brackets to attach it, and fiddled around with some washers as spacers to help it sit straighter and more square in the opening. This was a tricky and super frustrating process, but in the end I think we got there. Let's go ahead and cut our new facing pieces to size so that we can start staining everything.
Shopping for stain colors is one of my least favorite things. I always feel like the color that's on the sample and the color that's like on the front of the packaging and the color if you look online for what it looks like on different wood tones, it's just really hard to know what you're getting into. So I was torn between Special Walnut and the one that I ended up with, Early American. I looked online at some comparisons that people had done between those two, and it seemed that Early American was just a little bit warmer, and I didn't want to risk this going at all gray or ashy. So hopefully this will be good. I also didn't want to go super dark on this piece. I wanted to keep that kind of mid-tone feel that I think will work with that more industrial look. Hopefully it's going to be good. We'll find out.
It's worth noting that the color of the stain varies greatly depending on the wood it's going on. So on the bookcase, the wood naturally has a very red tone, so the stain reads much warmer and more red. On the desk, it's still warm, but more golden. I hope that the wood tones will be varied enough to make this work. As the stain went on, we also went ahead and painted the metal legs black with the fireplace paint that I used in my bedroom. This is oil-based and very thin, so it gives a similar effect to spray paint without having to tape the crap out of the whole piece to spray the legs. Much easier this way. Now on to the sliding doors on the upper shelves. This decorative sheet metal was about $40 per sheet at my local Lowe's, and they only had it in stock in silver. So let's cut it to size and see what we're working with. So when trying to choose doors for this, I wasn't really sure which way to go. I really like this metal that we got. I was hoping that 2 sheets would be enough to cover the whole doors fully, but with the dimensions and the way that everything worked out, it's not gonna really fully cover the whole door. I don't wanna spend the money for 3 sheets because these are super expensive. So we're having to find a solution for how to make it wide enough to go across the whole way. So what we've arrived at here is that we're gonna be cutting down some 2x4s into an L shape. That will give a little handle to grab onto to be able to slide the door. And it also will give a little bit of extra width on the side to bridge the gap and make sure this fully covers the opening whenever the door is closed. I think it's gonna look really great. Oh yeah, I see with the notch. Yeah, that's gonna be good. Okay. And this part will just lay slightly over the edge like that.
You're gonna glue it. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
We refined the shape of the handles further by shaving off a little groove for the metal to sit down into, and a little hand sawing took off the corner to create our handle shape and tongue that will slide in the groove. And oh yeah, the metal went black to match the legs of the desk. I use E6000 glue to set the metal sheets into the wood side pieces. This held really well, although I would recommend placing something heavy on the corners to hold them down and create a perfect bond. The corners popped up a bit on mine. Now let's get the doors attached. The channels that the doors will sit in are created with thin wood spacer pieces that are the same depth as the tongue pieces on our doors. We glue and nail those in, being sure that our doors have enough room to slide. Then we nail in the new top-facing pieces that we made. These will hold the doors in and hide all the edges. This wasn't exactly a foolproof process, and we had to spend a bit of time filing and perfecting the doors so that they could slide as evenly as possible. I also sewed them up later to create a better slide. For handles on the desk, I didn't totally mind the old ones, but we only had 2, and now we have 4 slightly mismatched doors that need a cohesive look. So let's work with these super basic Amarok handles that I got for $1 each at the REISSUED. A little black spray paint will tie them into the metal doors and legs of the desk. And as a final touch, I think we need some leather here. Another amazing mom idea. I'm using the same free leather that I used for the bathroom hardware and the front porch bench that I rescued off a damaged sofa at the REISSUED. I cut 4 pieces to a little over 3 inches by a little under 1.25 inches to create a tight wrap with no overlap around the handles. Then I pulled out the E6000 again to glue the leather in place, tightly wrapping it with tape to hold it in place for drying. The seam sits on the inside so you won't see it. And these basic handles just got a little less basic. We created a template on a wood scrap by tracing around the sides of each handle and marking the center, aligning the template in the center over the old holes. We placed the desk in the corner of the wall and mounted the bookcase up top by locating the studs and screwing it in.
And finally, I created a simple pin board using some cardboard and cork that I had on hand. I cut all the pieces to the size of one of my shelves, glued the 2 cardboard pieces together, stuck on the cork, and placed a heavy trunk over everything to help it dry flat. Once dry, I cut off any excess cardboard and pressed it into the bookcase. It was a tight enough fit that I didn't have to affix it in any way. This will be a great place to hang coupons and important reminders without having to see them all the time.
All right, everybody, the reveal is upon us. I'm so excited with how this piece turned out. Stay tuned after the reveal. I'm gonna be talking through a couple different areas of the space and some changes that I wanna make there as well. Of course, I want your feedback on those things in the comments. It's really helpful to me in deciding how I wanna proceed with the space, and it's been a real game changer for a couple different spaces in my house so far. So be sure to check out my ideas and let me know what you think in the comments. And now let me show you the desk.
Queenie, twirl, twirl, down, bang. Oh, that was so good.
All right, now that we've done the reveal, I want to show you a little bit more about what's going on in the space, other changes that we're making, and get your input. All right, so now that the china cabinet is over on this wall, it was originally intended to go over here on this wall, and now this is totally freed up. So I think we're gonna do both filing cabinets here together on this wall, and we pulled this one away from the wall a little bit so that we can get a lot of the larger canvases and things back behind. And with that in mind, I think we're gonna do a tabletop that's gonna come across all the way over in front of the window and then have some legs over here. That will be for the stool height, so the stool can sit up underneath, and it will give me all of that surface area all the way across in front of the window for various projects. I'm thinking that it also could be cool to do some sort of large pinboard wall here, maybe even over the top of the door. I have some frames and some easels and things that could hang on the wall and look nice, and it'd be cool to have a place to hang those. And then finally, I have a couple of these IKEA NHET shelf units. I got these in the as-is section. Obviously they're not the same color, but I would paint them to make them the same color. I'm thinking they might be interesting. They don't have the shelves in them currently, but I think that they might be cool to do up high somehow, maybe for storing bolts of fabric. I'm thinking maybe more of them. I'm still not finding great solutions to use all of the height in the space, and the picture rail has kind of complicated that even more, but I still think that was a good choice. So with those plans in mind, let me know what you think. Do you have input? Do you have other ideas? Any other layout things? At this point, I'm really open to feedback, so be sure to hit me up in the comments. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch. I'll see you guys soon.